my sort of relationship to The Sopranos has more to do with seeing some of Terry in Tony and, and also understanding just, again, my own psychology to know how drawn you can be to someone who's so powerful, who commands a lot of respect and is also super broken.
With 2 guests this week, Dear Family was twice the fun, twice the inspiration, and just so good that I couldn't cut anything out. So I'm breaking the episodes up into 2 parts, both released the same day, so you don't miss a thing. Enjoy part 2.
Dear Family is a podcast hosted by Rachel Steinman, a writer, an educator, and a mental health advocate. And Rachel gets us up close and personal, so we feel a strong connection, familiarity, and comfort with her guests. So settle in and join us as we search for true healing and journey with Rachel and her most interesting guests.
Hi, dear family and friends. Get ready for another inspirational and eye-opening story. Thank you so much for listening. And if you aren't already doing so, please subscribe and share Dear Family. It means the world to me and makes all the difference. Why do you think that Tony Soprano going to see a therapist was such a pivotal moment for not just America, but I think it probably rippled across the world?
Well, I think it's completely unexpected. 2 things that never seem to go together is gangster and the psychiatrist.
Right.
Those things. And it was just a sheer coincidence that at the time David Chase was developing the show, Analyze This came out. The odds were amazing. 2 things kind of similar, obviously one very comedic and one much less so. 2 people had the same idea at the same time. Yeah, it was just such a novel idea to have a guy in that profession. Or if, you think about people have problems at work and you go and, talk to a therapist, your stuff at the office, not a mob boss's problems. Ashley and David has certainly talked about this in many interviews. That original idea started to be was a TV producer who has problems with his mother and goes to a therapist. And then that morphed into what if it's a gangster and his mother. So that's where it began.
So it always began with going to a therapist.
David's been a big advocate of therapy. And he's, credits, long-term relationship with the therapist he's gone to for really helping him in his life, in a lot of different ways. And certainly provided incredible grist for that mill of that show. But it was really interesting. And, we used to always talk, we wondered, are there a lot of now guys going into therapy and sort of acting like Tony and sort of being that character? And I never really heard a therapist tell me that. But I guess it did kind of make it a little more palatable for guys to say, all right, what? Well, maybe I have anxiety. Or, we did talk about stuff and, a lot of stuff about feelings and relationships, and certainly a lot of stuff with kids on that show and his relationship with his son and daughter.
Any thoughts on it, Rach?
I think that, I'm in awe of, at first when I was dating Terry, I had to lie and say I was a big fan of The Sopranos, which I had never seen. That's what makes me a good producer, I guess.
And liar.
And liar. Mostly my sort of relationship to The Sopranos has more to do with seeing some of Terry in Tony and, and also understanding just, again, my own psychology to know how drawn you can be to someone who's so powerful, who commands a lot of respect and is also super broken.
Yeah, it's such a great dynamic. I just want to quickly share why I think it was so pivotal. And suicide is 3 times more prevalent with men. I don't know if you know that statistic, and it's partly because men are violent and they follow through with the act. Women overdose, or maybe it doesn't. And women also talk about their feelings. I'm generalizing here, okay? But I think that it allowed men to say, I need help and I need to be vulnerable. I think it's really cool. And I just want to acknowledge that. And that ties into, because you mentioned how you see a little bit of Terry in his characters. And Terry, you had told me in Boardwalk Empire how you wrote a scene with Nucky where he completely lost his mind with smudges on glasses. I think best writers do put themselves in there. I'm just curious, writing has to be so emotional. And I want to actually talk to you about Brooklyn Rules because I know that that was based on
Me and my two best friends.
You and your two best friends. Yeah. Is that where you and Rachel met?
It is. Yeah, that was the first feature script I ever wrote. It's funny, as writers, a lot of the conventional wisdom is always, write what you know, write what you know. And I had always heard that and ignored it. I was writing for TV and I wanted to start writing feature film. So, of course, I just went for the mercenary route. I was like, all right, I'm going to write a big action movie with, Jackie Chan. And I would get 30 pages written and then I would realize I don't really care about this script. And I do another 30 pages on some other big concept movie and I didn't care about it. And then one day I just started writing, fooling around. That's something to do. I just started writing dialogue between me and my two best friends, Bobby and Chris. The three of us sitting in a diner as we did pretty much every night in Brooklyn, before we went home. Conversation started taking shape. And then, just the ball breaking, the way guys talk to each other or the way we talk to each other. We had to have a scene and then another scene. And then that referred back to the earlier scene and the story started taking shape. And then I stopped and I went, oh my God, this is actually forming out to be a movie. So I stopped writing it and then outlined the story and then went back to writing, wrote it really quickly. I'm sure I wrote that script in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it just poured out of me. I knew exactly who these characters were. Obviously, it was me and those two guys. And then the movie fictionalizes, some stuff and, some mob stuff. Anyway, that became my first feature and my agent really liked it and said, we can totally set this up. And he sent it out to a couple of companies. And one day I got a call to go meet with a company called Southpaw Media in Santa Monica. And among the people in that room was this beautiful young development girl, as they used to call them, a D girl. That was Rachel, and we became friends. And it took years before the movie got made.
Yeah, it's also how David Chase got introduced to it. It's how you ended up on The Sopranos.
Well, the funny thing, it is and it isn't. He read it and didn't like it. But the guy who gave it to us was my friend Frank Mazzulli. He said, all right, forget about this script, but you should really meet this guy. And then he met me and he hired me despite not having liked Brooklyn Rules. Rachel liked it. Yeah. And then years later, at that point, we'd both been married to other people. We both gone through divorces. The movie got made and we started dating.
So, Terry, you talk about the importance of taking a nap.
Yes.
And for your mental health.
Yeah.
Right? Sleep is so important, right? So that brings me to Rachel. Rachel, I know that you're not the greatest sleeper. I mean, this is something that you deal with. One, I would love you to tell the listeners just about your constant list writing and your paperback planner. Does that help unburden your mind?
It does.
Okay. So tell us about how you handle this.
So I definitely don't turn that light off at night until I have transferred everything from the list of the day to whatever's remaining. The worst thing is when my mind is racing, I've turned the light off and I get an idea. And, in the middle of the night, in the pitch black, you think you got the greatest idea. And it's usually fucking shit. It's like, you're useless, but I will have to reach over. Then I actually will, because I don't want to disturb Tara, who's asleep in a minute, his head hits the pillow. I will use my phone to type in a note just so I don't forget it so that I can let it go, get it out of my head and hopefully fall asleep. Yeah, it sucks. Just not being a good sleeper or not being able to.
Have you always been that way, or do you think it's because you have so many different projects?
It started in 1996 when my career in film and in development really started. So.
Yeah, being a producer, you're constantly like...
It's one of the only aspects of the film business where it's so amorphous. It is what you make it. And there's so much stress that goes into that because if part of my brain isn't working on it, I'm letting people down. Somebody wrote that script. Someone wrote that article. Someone, and I'm also not, you can't make a living. So I was always like, well, part of my brain was always working on something.
Also, you're always thinking about the stories and you have really vivid dreams. Is it
I do, but I also, Terry, we'll be driving in the car or something. What are you thinking about? And be like, oh, I'm just watching Pretty Woman or something. I can watch it in my head. Every piece of dialogue.
She can literally pull up a movie in her head and watch the movie, dialogue, music, everything. Recount back. Like we talk about old movies, I just have a vague sense of whether or not I liked it. I think I liked that movie. Rachel can quote dialogue from a movie she's seen once, tell you the whole plot, And sometimes when we talk, she'll say, "Oh, it's like the scene in such and such when such and such happened," and I have no idea what she's talking about.
That's like a different intelligence that I don't even.
I
It
just don't
is.
have that part of my brain.
Also, the fact that she's like seeing in scene might have to do with like your always design aesthetic and you're very visual.
It's the same thing. You can walk through a house once and then you can draw an architectural diagram of the house.
Yeah.
I probably live in a house for like a week before I know where every room is. I'm going the wrong way. I'm up and head the wrong direction.
That's why we call him Magellan.
Yeah, and it's true. I just don't.
Well, okay. So I only have a few questions left. This is amazing. And I mean, I could ask you guys a million more, but we can't make this crazy long. So Rachel, you know, you love to design and you've designed multiple houses and apartments that you guys have moved around into. And you're currently designing a beautiful dream home project, but it's been going on for a few years now. And I'm sure that's a big thing to talk about. Well, that's what I was going to say. So having gone through this process just once with Todd, and when, you know, there's contractors and there's money and there's decor design things, it's hard.
Almost brought this marriage to a halt. The 15-year-old Terry Winter riding around on that bike, delivering meat, wanted, in his wildest dreams, wanted a big house with a built-in pool. That's what I used to call it. In the East Coast, people didn't have...
They have raised pools.
Raised pools.
Yeah.
So when Rachel and I first started looking for a house in Los Angeles, they said, well, it's got to have this, that, and it has to have a built-in pool. And Rachel said, as opposed to what? And I was like,
you get a doughboy?
Which I was like, oh, yeah, to somebody in Los Angeles, that's absurd. Every house has a doughboy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, right. Well, anyway, so the biggest fantasy I could ever have as a kid is to have a house that had a pool and a tennis court. Reality is I played tennis maybe twice a year. But if that's beside the point, I wanted a house with a tennis court. So I said to Rachel, here's the deal. So we picked this house. It's got a big piece of property. And I said, here's the deal. I want this, my list of demands. I want a tennis court. No problem. Great. So as it turns out, putting a tennis court on this particular property, because it's hillside and everything else, is a massive endeavor. Huge cost, digging and not mullions, what do you call it? Caissons. Probably mullions too. And it's like, and she finally comes to me and says, how would you feel if we don't have a tennis court? And I went through the fucking roof. I went crazy. You totally set me up.
Was this before or after the Paxil?
This is before.
Oh.
You told me, this is what led to Paxil immediately.
Okay.
You set me up. You told me the fucking tennis court. It was a bait and switch. I want the fucking tennis court. And I don't even really play tennis. And I recognize that as the principle of the thing. I told you and you said, I said I didn't even want this fucking house. And you said, no, you can have whatever you want. Now you're taking the tennis court away. And it got to be such a issue that here's the other thing. By the way, my mother-in-law, my mom, Rachel's mom, lives in a condo, not even a mile from here, that has 3 tennis courts that we can use whenever we want. But that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted a fucking tennis court in this house. And finally, I got to the point where I was like, after being medicated, I was like, this makes no sense. I don't care. I don't need it. You know, even now I go, yeah, that would be so stupid to have a tennis court.
But this is a great...
But it was a big
deal. And
fight.
This is, you know, just coming back to the relationship and understanding each other and looking out for each other, but then also like the huge red flag, because this cuts to the core of the psychological baggage that he can now more easily see has to do with the 15-year-old Terry Winter and his needs and what he needed to get himself out of the situation he was in growing up and to where he wanted to be and now where he is. However, the damage you can do to your significant other when you saddle them with trying to also take care of your 15-year-old self, it weighs on the relationship and it's dangerous. And so I will say, I will pay you a compliment that the most recent knockdown drag out that we had, still about the house because it's fucking killing us financially.
Which is so normal for couples to fight over.
And
yeah.
I know that in certain ways it's my fault, you know.
Why did I say that again?
Yeah, that it's my fault. Put that on like
yes, yeah, I'll loop it.
Put it on like on his phone.
I'll loop it and have a picture of Terry smiling.
But most recently, when we had this fight, and because the frustration you were feeling, we had about 3 days we're glaring at each other, not really talking because we got into this fight. But eventually I was able to process in a way that was clear. Remember we were in Max's room, and we finally had to do with the financial burden if that impacts going on a big vacation. Like I have said over and over again, I don't give a fuck. We don't need to do that. But he still has the need to be able to do it. He doesn't even vacation well. And he was able to sort of more easily cop to taking ownership that some of these things that affect him don't actually have anything to do with me.
That's the compliment?
Yeah.
Okay. Sound like a compliment.
No, I
really recognize that.
No, I'm going to explain what the compliment is. But,
Okay.
Well, are you done, Rach? I think it's just that you are now self-aware enough to understand where it's coming from. It comes with enlightenment. And that's
progress.
right?
And
that's
you
progress.
And you apologized in a way that was not a qualified apology, where you really was like, okay, I see that and I'm sorry. That's massive progress. And, so anyway, I appreciate it.
Oh my God, I love that. This one is also for both of you, if you want to comment. So I know both of you are behind the camera and you've both dealt with this fame roller coaster where people, know your name, and then there's announcements in the trades and you're being greenlit, and then things in this business get canceled. Yeah. And, in a lot of respects, you're really only as good as your next project. And it's improper for me as a quote mental health advocate to call it bipolar. But I mean, it's like 1 minute it's so lucrative and wonderful, and the next minute it's like soul crushing. And I mean, I'm not in this business, but I have enough friends around me that are. And I'm just like, what do you do to stay healthy when your work is so up and down?
It's challenging sometimes. It's really debilitating when you write something that you're really proud of that doesn't come to fruition and actually get made. And I've been really lucky, incredibly lucky in my career to have so much produced and get made. You can see it. Nothing better than sitting in an audience full of people watching something that you took part in, that you produced or wrote or directed or had anything to do with. And it's really
like when you had to sit next to your mother-in-law at watching Leo blow coke up a woman's ass.
Oh, that's
just
awesome.
Like, how fucking long is this?
That was probably the longest minute of my life at the premiere of Wolf of Wall Street. It opens up with Leonardo DiCaprio blowing cocaine into a woman's anus with my mother-in-law sitting next to me. I could just feel the heat coming off of her head. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
So you weren't even able to enjoy it. You had to feel the tension of your mother.
It's hurtful artistically. On the other hand, I get paid to write scripts, and not all of them are going to get made, or for whatever reason, are feasible for a company to put a ton of money into making it. So I have to go, I talk myself into this. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I say I write them, I ship them off, and it's like pushing a little bear bird out of the nest, and I hope it flies. If it doesn't, I got to get to the next bird. And I do. But then occasionally I'll say to Rachel, who's my producer, how's that fucking bird doing? What's going on with that bird that I really love?
That's why she doesn't sleep.
Yeah, and it's true. And she'll she'll CC him on emails.
He's smart enough to get paid for his work along the way. I'm the idiot who works for years and years on a movie as a producer. You don't get paid until it gets made.
Yeah, right. And that bird I wrote for Sony. What's going on with that bird?
Exactly.
That I really love. And she'll follow up. A lot of it is out of your control, and you can only do the best job you can. And
that's right.
I write every one of them like this is getting made, and I wanted to.
And you also have a lot of projects at the same time.
We have tons of projects.
Which is.
And look, I think the nice thing is that when you get a little success or, get recognized for your work and people are interested in working with you, just get more confident to stand by the stories that you've already invested time and you've already sold people on working with you to try and move those things forward together as a team. I don't give up, but because I've been lucky enough to be able to put my time and energy into something I believe in, not everybody has that luxury. And, so I'm super grateful that our life affords me the ability, because I think it would be much, much harder to also do a ton of work, not get paid on something they also didn't either really believe in or didn't,
So it sounds like you're coming from a place of gratitude, which is always the best place to come
I'm
from.
super lucky.
Why is your marriage worth fighting for?
I say this all the time. I consider myself the luckiest guy I know. I am so madly in love with Rachel and our kids.
Madness
Really,
is a theme.
Truly,
No.
truly love her more now than I did 10 years ago, which I didn't think was possible. I can't imagine a version
crying.
of my life that didn't include my wife and kids. There was a time in my life where I didn't know that I was going to have this, that I thought I was going to not have children and not be as happy as I could be and as fulfilled. And it was, through knowing Rachel that it changed everything for me. And it's, and I say to our kids all the time, the idea that if I do nothing else for them, the idea that they can wake up and see this beautiful smiling woman in the morning, then I've done my job as a father. You should thank me every day. It's like, make it about me.
Rachel, are you glad I'm recording this?
No, it's so true.
He says it. He says
I
it
know.
when
No,
he's
please.
not-
I've heard this many times too from you. I know. You're so in love with her. It's honestly the sweetest
And it's
thing.
easy. She really makes it easy. She's so awesome. She really is. She's so sweet. The kindest person I've ever met. So sweet. It's not a disingenuous bone in her body. She's so
I know.
wonderful.
She's such a good
This
friend
moment
too.
has been brought to you by Paxil.
And I probably should have asked you this question first because now you have to follow that.
I hate when I have
Oh, I'm sorry.
She does leave shit all over that. But it's so cute.
Oh. But she leaves cute shit
she
around
does.
because she's got good style. All right. Well, do you want to just add? Is there anything?
I will just say that, oh my gosh, if I was definitely the girl, just a regular girl who wanted to be a princess, Terry definitely makes me feel like a princess and worthy of having what we have and feeling the way that I feel. But I will go back to it for me, like fighting for this marriage and a marriage. I think for me, like I can look at it in the micro and the small moments of like knowing that I made him laugh or that I actually cooked something that he thought was good, or that we were running out of toothpaste and I went and I got the toothpaste. And because those are things that, really do mean something to him.
It sounds like it's so funny.
My last night is a brand new toothpaste.
Your love language is service. That's Todd's too. Todd likes when I'm like actively doing things.
Right.
Like if he sees me cleaning something that I don't normally clean, he's like, that's thank you. I love you. So funny.
It is, the little things are so important. Like,
No, it is.
I was driving up to Mammoth with our son, and I was taking Rachel's car, and she came home. She said, I filled up the car with gas for you. It's like a little thing, but it's like,
it's
she
true. It's
thought
a
about
great
that.
reminder. It is.
Really sweet.
It's the
like one
little
last thing I have to do, but I was like, wow, that was really sweet. That you thought of that and did it.
God is in the details, right? These are the last two questions that I ask my guests. And I'm going to start with you, Rachel. So if you could write your younger self a love letter. So let's say 20 years old. So you're in college. We know each other. Yeah. And it's a Dear Rachel love letter. But you're giving advice from what you know now. What might you say?
Yes, I would say, Dear Rachel, don't worry. Frizzy hair will be out soon. I would say, Dear Rachel, you have a very interesting path ahead. Don't be afraid. Please try to be courageous. Please believe in yourself. Please don't settle. And I would say the world needs your smile. Share it. And be brave.
I would say you followed that advice.
But it took me a long time. I consider myself a late bloomer.
Right. All right, Terry, what about you?
I'm 20.
Or would you prefer to be a different age?
No,
you can.
Period.
Okay.
Dear Terry, there was a 9-year-old girl in Northridge named Rachel. Keep an eye on her. But not too closely, because that's really creepy. Seriously, very similar to Rachel. Be courageous, believe in yourself. follow your path and your path only, and just go boldly into the future and just trust your instincts. I think that was a big part of, I did everything in my power not to be a writer until it got to the point where I was so unhappy doing something else that, people say, oh, so ballsy of you to come out. And I said, it wasn't ballsy. I had no choice. I was so unhappy being a lawyer at 30 years old. And the only thing I wanted to do really was to be a writer. And I finally got to the point where I was, okay, I surrender. I have to do this and I have to try. And it was life-changing, obviously, but it was so wonderful to move here and wake up in the morning with a real purpose that I knew I couldn't wait to get to the computer. I was exhilarated. I never felt that in any other job. Like, I can't wait. I really feel like, and I said it a million times, I feel like I don't have a job. And this is what I want to do when I wake up in the morning, is talk about stories. And, even the other night, we put the kids to bed. I worked all day, finished the script, shipped it out, got the kids to bed, and sat down and watched the documentary about another topic of another script I'm writing about bounty hunters. And that's work. But I'm just sitting down watching TV, but that was my job. It doesn't feel like a job. It feels like I would have done that anyway, and it's sort of that thing. And, I twisted and turned and tried to talk myself out of doing this because it just seemed stupid. And the people around me in Brooklyn think, wait, crazy, you're going to be a Hollywood writer? Who the fuck do you think you are? And the note to the 20-year-old is, you are exactly who you think you are. And go do this. Go do it. Don't worry. I love that. Put your blinders on.
But you were brave and you did listen to your intuition and you found your passion. Yeah. It's amazing. All right. Last question. What happiness habits do you have that ground you? What do you do that brings you happiness?
I try to practice what I preach when I tell the kids that exercise contributes to happiness. So I do, as you know really well, I don't really want to work very hard when it comes to exercise. So I do drag my ass to the gym and I do keep my heart moving and I try to take care of myself by exercising. I am not good at sitting around and letting myself indulge in quiet moments or relaxing moments. So when I do go balls to the wall, like a rerun of Friends. Like, I recognize that.
Balls to the wall, baby.
One episode?
No, meaning I'll put that on instead of the news while I'm futzing around, or so I will actually sit down. And I think about, you've seen me sit on my knees eating cereal in front of Cheers or whatever when I was in college. I still will sit down on my knees in front of the TV and watch a rerun of Friends because I know that that's like a weird.
You lose yourself in place. Yeah, I love that.
It's a low stakes for myself moment. So,
but that's partly why you're such an amazing, producer and visual person, because you can lose yourself in that.
I guess. Yeah, that was great storytelling. And then as I've gotten older, the thing I do for myself is being more present and sinking into those moments with my kids and with Terry. It is about the kids because Terry and I we're pretty good about spending time together. But so being with the kids and like lay down and cuddle with your child and just do that. So yeah, that's been a really good thing. I know. Lately.
Molly gave me a hug yesterday, like out of the blue. And I was like, I'm going to hold on to this moment. Okay, and what about you, Terry? What are some happiness habits?
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, it's very simple, but sitting on the couch under a blanket with the two kids, one on either side of me, and Rachel around, watching TV or watching a movie is the greatest feeling. It's just so comforting and just so warm and makes me really happy. It makes me feel full and complete. Even as weird thing at night, like getting the kids' rooms ready for them to go to sleep. Like locking the house down, like everybody's here, everybody's safe, everybody's
you have all your ducks in a row.
Everything is good. The kids are in bed, we're here, a glass of wine, watching TV, the dog is asleep. It just makes me feel really content. Playing with the dog too makes me really happy. I mean, I just love play fetch with him. He loves to play tug of war. It just makes me laugh every day. He's so into it. And he loves it. And he comes in and he just runs in with his little tail and he's got his toy in his mouth and he looks at me like, he thinks I'm just as excited as he is.
Honestly, aren't pets the best?
It's so great. It's so cute.
I'm so excited. They're adopting a dog from China.
We are, yeah. So we'll be here hopefully next month.
Skittles will have a little sister.
Yeah.
Oh, and vintage shopping.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's not forget. Okay. Well, and I ask my guests this question, but I'm not going to ask you. Where they can find you on social media, because you are one of the only couples, maybe the only couple I know that is not on social media. And I have to say, very impressed by that one. That is awesome, you guys.
I firmly believe the world doesn't need to hear every idiotic thought
no,
I have.
it's the worst.
I think it on Twitter or Facebook or anything else, and you have no interest in what I have for breakfast, then I don't need to post pictures of it or anything. I'm just...
All right. And can I just take 1 minute?
Yeah.
I just have to say to all the listeners how proud we are of you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Talk about following your passion and having an idea and expanding it and reaching other people and connecting with other people, and something that is so unbelievably important. So we are blown away by what you're doing.
Creating something out of thin air. I mean, really just creating this entire podcast.
Well,
it's really great.
You both have been huge inspirations to me since day one. And I have to really thank Rachel for being kind of my number one cheerleader. As you know, having Rachel in your court is like, you just feel like you can do no wrong. So thank you for always being there for me. Well, I love you both. Thank you for opening your home and your hearts to me. And I love you guys.
Love you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
This is Rachel Steinman. For more information or to contact me with any questions, comments, or guest ideas, please check out rightnowrachel.com. That's right with a W. Thank you so much for listening, subscribing, and sharing, dear family. And if you found value in what you've just heard, I would love and so appreciate a great review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, I wish you love, happiness, and good mental health.